With me is civil rights attorney and former public school teacher. He's running for Congress in Texas's 10th district. Please welcome Mike Siegel right here.
Right on, so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm used to Skype, and so this is very awkward and weird. So if you could just sort of like have a delay in your voice, that'd be helpful.
No, we can actually have a human conversation.
We can have a real conversation, and it's gonna last for more than 2 minutes.
Great, sounds good.
Which is, I don't know how much time you get in Texas, but maybe it's more than that. So Mike, okay, you're a progressive. You just got the endorsement of Working Families Party. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge. And you're running in a red district, right? And so this is where Democrats get very nervous, because we are afraid to run in a red district and put someone who's a progressive up in a red district. And I know that you actually came on this show and you spoke with Cenk here in studio before, and then something happened afterwards. Tell me about it.
Well, yeah, big picture. I'm running in the heart of Texas, trying to dethrone this guy, Michael McCaul, a longtime Republican incumbent with $300 million, and he's a GOP leader. And unfortunately, some of the national Democrats believe that to win a district like this, you basically have to be a light Republican, a military veteran, don't support Medicare for all, support some, public option type plan, don't support a Green New Deal. And so I came on the show to talk about how the national Democrats, the DCCC, weren't really supporting me, even though my 2018 campaign put this district in play. And I told Cenk a pretty straightforward story about how hostile they are towards me.
Okay.
And I got home back to Texas, and I got a call from a friend in DC who told me that the DCCC was very unhappy that I had gone on that show and that I shouldn't say such things in public. I basically criticized the political director of the DCCC. And then later I found out that the DCCC was helping my opponent, transferred $2,500 to her campaign, even though they promised to be, agnostic in the primary.
Wow. And like on the one hand, I'm like, that's incredible, but also $2,500, you can raise that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the supporters of the show have helped me raise at least that. But it was more like, in person they promise, oh yeah, we're not gonna pick sides in the primary, but in the background, they're clearly helping one candidate who happens to have backers who are mega DCCC donors. Like her treasurer has given over $200,000 to the DCCC.
Wow.
So they help her a little more than they do me.
Okay. So you're clearly an underdog, but not really, because like you said, you ran in 2018 against McCaul, right? Michael McCaul. And you said that you felt like you put this district in play for Democrats. Tell me about that.
Sure, so in Texas, every district is gerrymandered to an absurd degree. And so this district was drawn by Tom DeLay and Karl Rove back in 2003 to be a permanent 60% Republican district. And until I ran in 2018, the incumbent was winning by 20 and 30%.
Wow.
But with a grassroots campaign, we mobilized over 1,000 volunteers. We lowered that from 19% in 2016 to 4% in 2018.
That's crazy. I mean, nowadays, when I saw the 4%, I was like, okay, but nowadays every election is like a 0.1%. But that's huge. 4% means a lot. And so how does that make you feel that still the DCCC is not catching on when your campaign and the volunteers were able to put this district in play? Is that disheartening for you?
I take it in stride. I mean, I've been involved in politics as a public school teacher, a union organizer. I'm pretty aware of the system. I watch shows like The Young Turks. But it was disappointing in the sense, for example, one of the things I told Cenk was that I told the political director for the D-Trip, hey, we mobilized all these volunteers. We put together unions and youth and seniors and progressives. Yeah. And they said, well, don't worry about field. If you win the nomination, we'll take care of that.
Yeah.
And it's such a cynical approach to politics. The only questions they care about are how much money can you raise from your phone and what consultants do you have? And it's this whole—
What consultants do you have?
Well,
Are you spending a lot on an app?
No, I'm spending money on contacting voters, having real conversations. And I think the fundamental problem is a cynical approach that is basically based on manipulating voters. It's not about meeting people year round, off years and on years. It's about sending a whole bunch of mail and a whole bunch of ads in the last 3 weeks of a cycle to manipulate people, not to establish the foundation for lasting political change.
Right.
And so, I mean, to me it points to, and I think this show is a part of that, we need independent power structures for progressives because these folks in DC aren't really having it. They don't want to see real change in this country.
And why are they wrong when it comes to their political analysis of who and when and what to run on? You said that your district, supposedly people don't want things like Medicare for all. They don't want a Green New Deal. Supposedly, they are Trump voters, right? So my question to you is, why is the D-Trip wrong about running a more moderate Democrat? What have you heard from people?
Yeah, because it's really those folks in DC that say that. It's not the people in my district. And so to me, to beat a guy like Michael McCaul, whose wife is an heiress to the Clear Channel fortune, they're worth over $300 million. You're not gonna outspend this guy. So I could spend all day calling rich donors, but that's not gonna change the calculus of who's gonna get out and vote. And so as a Democrat trying to flip one of these seats, we need to change who votes. We need to change the base, broaden the base. And the only way we do that is by drawing a clear contrast. So I'm out there fighting on a Green New Deal in a district that includes oil workers on the Houston side, that includes a coal plant, but it also includes a lot of people who don't have clean water. They get a water bill with 2 pages of disclosures of fracking fluids in the water supply. And so by providing a clear contrast, by fighting for Medicare for all while rural hospitals are closing, I can show folks, hey, this will be a big difference if you vote me in and vote McCaul out.
Yeah. I mean, it's really inspirational, everything you've just said in your campaign, because I think at a time when, you're looking at the national level and wondering what is the way forward if the Democrats make a progressive turn, and we stop paying consultants and stop, taking corporate money and we get money out of politics. There's another way, and you're sort of showing it here in Texas. It's super inspiring. You also have a huge endorsement from the AFLCIO. It's an endorsement you got last time you ran in 2018. How does that work? How does getting the AFLCIO on board with someone who says, I want a Green New Deal, I don't know where you stand on labor and trade, but I assume you're against things like the USMCA, or I don't know, but how does it work to get the AFL's endorsement as a progressive?
Sure, so I come from a union family. My mom was a machinist at a Caterpillar factory. My dad's a longtime labor lawyer. So I grew up in that tradition, and I'm coming to this race as a 2-time union member. I was a teachers union organizer, and then later as a city attorney, I was active in the union. Okay. My campaign has been unionized. Actually, my workers are represented by a union.
Wow.
So I thought it would be a slam dunk, and the Austin Labor Council supported me unanimously. But when I got to the Houston side, half the workers work in the fossil fuel industry. You have steel workers who operate the refineries. You have seafarers who operate these big ships in the port of Houston. And it turned out that those 3 words, Green New Deal, were enough to convince them to support one of my opponents in the primary, who actually worked for an anti-union law firm, has a terrible record, but they were so concerned about the Green New Deal. So I went into this convention, there was a split endorsement, but I spent 3 days basically caucusing with every union in the state of Texas, over 70 unions. And one by one convinced them that I'm fighting for a Green New Deal. We're gonna fight climate change, but we're also gonna make sure workers are gonna be at the table. Yeah. That we're not gonna change our economy without making sure workers and their families are taken care of. And so by the end of the convention, 65 out of 70 unions supported me for the endorsement, and I did win the sole endorsement.
Congratulations, that's huge. So by caucusing, you weren't flipping coins, I'm assuming.
No, like one-on-one conversations and looking people in the eye and maybe having a beer, but real talk, like, hey, my family, I work at a coal plant. How are you gonna take care of me? And there's a lot of lost trust over the years. We haven't taken care of workers. The Democratic Party hasn't taken care of workers. And so we really need to rebuild that trust, because there's no way we're gonna have a Green New Deal if workers aren't with us in that process.
Right, and we've also been told and sold this myth that it's either jobs or the environment, right? And I think the Green New Deal obviously is in the title saying we can have both. But getting folks on board for that is very, very different. That's huge. That's hard work.
And we're up against this media complex that's bought into the fossil fuel industry. And so we really need to sell it, that we're gonna create millions of wonderful new jobs, union jobs that are gonna support families, rebuild our country, and take care of our planet. I
just saw American Factory after the Oscars the other night, and I was like, we need better Democrats than this, because anyway, but okay, just tell me about your opponent. Maybe you've got 2 opponents.
Yeah.
So first, I guess, tell me about Shannon Hutchinson.
Sure, so I'm in a 3-way primary. Both of my opponents were previous donors to my campaign, but basically after we got it so close, I think they decided they wanted to make a run for it.
Wow.
And Ms. Hutchinson is one of my opponents. She's supported by Emily's List. She has a lot of money available. She's on TV right now, while my campaign is out knocking tens of thousands of doors. And so Her background, unfortunately, includes 23 years as a corporate lawyer, representing big employers against workers, taking on the Department of Labor. How dare they investigate workers' claims of missing back pay? She even represented a private immigration jail just north of Austin that holds women who have been separated from their families at the border. And she represented a prison guard who molested many of these women. And so she's basically taken money from all the wrong people.
Wow.
And was a Republican donor, a Republican voter. But because she fits this image of moderate woman, pro-choice, lots of money, she's attractive to some of these forces in the Democratic Party.
That is really, that's upsetting. I'm horrified and aghast at that. And it's hard also to run against that, someone who's been endorsed by Emily's list, but also, and you want to run a positive campaign, but that track record speaks volumes. What about yourself? What about working as a civil rights attorney? How has that inspired your campaign?
Yeah, so my background, 21 years of public service as a public school teacher, union organizer, civil rights lawyer. So I can basically say I've been fighting for kids, I've been fighting for workers my whole career. And so the proof is in the pudding. I wasn't out there trying to cash checks from big corporations. I was trying to make a difference in people's lives.
You've been actually representing those immigrants, not the prison guards.
I was the lead lawyer for the city of Austin as a city attorney to sue Governor Abbott in Texas to stop Show Me Your Papers law. Oh. I was actually part of the statewide coalition that fought back on behalf of immigrant families.
Mike Siegel, congressional candidate for Texas District 10. Thank you so much for being here.
Awesome, wonderful to be here. Thank you so much.
And I hope that the DCCC doesn't donate nearly as much this time, but you can. SiegelforTexas.org/donate, get involved, find out more about his campaign. Thanks so much for being here.
Wonderful, thank you for the opportunity.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.